Welcome to The Explainer. So let's just jump right into it. If you've been paying attention to the news literally at all over the last couple of years, you've probably noticed that the world is changing at breakneck speed. I mean, it feels like every single week there is some new, earth-shattering artificial intelligence breakthrough. And look, it's a fascinating, deeply exciting time to be alive. But let's be totally honest with each other. It is also incredibly intimidating. We're facing this reality where rapid AI advancement isn't just a sci-fi movie concept anymore. It's happening right now, in real time, on our screens and in our streets. So today, we're going to unpack exactly what this technological explosion means for our jobs, our safety, and our collective future, using insights from one of the absolute pioneers of this technology.
And the big question we have to start with is this: are we completely unprepared? To really put this into perspective, we are living in an era right now where an AI model like Claude can write software better than a seasoned Google engineer in just 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Think about that for a second. Software engineering, this highly specialized, incredibly lucrative job where someone could easily pull in 200 grand right out of college, is suddenly being matched by a $100 a month subscription. When the core skill of engineering itself starts getting automated, it really forces us to ask if humanity is truly ready for what's coming next.
To answer that, we need to take a step back and look at the big picture. Part 1. The exponential AI era.
We hear this buzzword all the time, right? The singularity. But what does it actually mean? Essentially, the singularity is an exponential expansion of technology that changes the world faster and faster. Think of it kind of like compounding interest, but for human progress. Whatever took 10 years to develop will suddenly happen in 2 years, and then what took 2 years will happen in 4 months. The gap between these major, world-altering advancements is shrinking so violently that predicting the future, even just 5 years out, becomes practically impossible.
If we actually map out human history, it's pretty staggering. Homo sapiens emerged roughly 300,000 years ago, and for the vast majority of that time, nothing really changed. Then, suddenly, just about 70 years ago, we discovered the double helix of DNA. And today we are experiencing a runaway exponential AI curve. You see, exponentials are incredibly tricky because for the longest time, you don't even notice them. The line just stays flat. But then, all of a sudden, it goes vertical, and it hits you in a way you can no longer ignore. We are currently living right inside that vertical spike.
Now, if you feel like you were totally caught off guard by this sudden explosion of AI, you are definitely not alone. This quote comes from Sebastian Thrun, the founder of Google X and a literal pioneer in self-driving cars and AI. He humbly admits that it's a bit embarrassing that even he, a world-class technologist, didn't spot this exponential curve until it was right on top of us. So if you're just now waking up to this massive, rapid shift in our reality, give yourself some grace. It is perfectly normal to feel a bit disoriented by the whole shebang.
Let's see how this builds from abstract history down to the literal streets outside. Part 2. Collective intelligence on wheels.
The absolutely crucial point to understand here is how artificial intelligence learns compared to us humans. When you or I make a mistake while driving, we learn from it, right? But that's it. Nobody else in the world benefits from that localized lesson. But let's contrast that with a Waymo self-driving car. If a Waymo makes a mistake, the human safety driver takes over and the AI learns from it. But here is the crazy part. Instantly, every single other Waymo car in the entire fleet learns from it too. Even future, unborn cars will roll off the assembly line with that lesson already programmed in. This collective, hive mind learning puts AI on a trajectory that just completely blows human capabilities out of the water.
Because of that collective learning, we get astonishing statistics like this. It's estimated that self-driving cars like Waymo are roughly 100 times safer than a human driver when it comes to accidents involving bodily harm, airbag deployment, or death. Just to put that into perspective, globally, more than 1 million people die in traffic accidents every single year, many from just a split-second bad decision by a human driver. This technology has the potential to quietly save countless lives without anyone ever even knowing they were spared. Although, getting to that level of safety definitely hasn't been without its quirks. In the early days, a Waymo car was cruising down the highway and suddenly slammed on its brakes, performing an emergency stop for absolutely no reason. Well, when the engineers checked the data, they realized a large plastic bag had floated across the wind. Now, to a human driver with basic intuition, it's just a bag, you'd drive right through it. But to the machine's rigid logic, it looked like a massive incoming asteroid from outer space. They literally had to go in and explicitly train the AI to ignore floating plastic bags. It's just a perfectly hilarious example of the friction between rigid machine logic and intuitive human experience. But as AI starts to master our physical environment, it's causing a massive ripple effect across society. Part 3. Navigating the disruption.
When we look at how global governments are reacting to this, two very distinct philosophies emerge from the source material. The United States is taking more of a post-effect or market-driven approach. Essentially, the US lets the innovation happen, embraces the inevitable failures, because remember, like 99 out of 100 startups fail anyway, and then they regulate based on what actually goes wrong. Europe, on the other hand, has taken a highly proactive, often fear-based approach, trying to regulate against every possible worst-case scenario before it even happens. According to the analysis, this has actually stifled startups and fragmented their markets, making it incredibly difficult to build a unified European tech giant right now.
But hey, whether you live in California or London, individual fears are completely universal, and they are incredibly valid. People look at AI and feel this deeply visceral fear of mass job displacement. I mean, how are you going to pay the mortgage if your entire profession is automated? Will all this new wealth just get funneled to a few hyper-rich trillionaires, creating even worse economic inequality? It creates a wildly unpredictable future and a profound fear of losing one's life purpose. The source points out that these fears aren't just paranoia, they're legitimate. When things are uncertain, human beings naturally lean toward fear, simply because safety equals certainty.
But here's the thing, we have a choice in how we reframe that narrative. Yes, the fear of mass job loss is very real, but the other side of that exact same coin is an unimaginable opportunity, a massive productivity surplus. If AI takes over all the tedious stuff, like drafting legal documents, managing giant databases, or writing basic code, society suddenly produces far more value with far less labor. The real question isn't just what happens to our jobs. Actually, it's more like, how do we as a society choose to spend the massive surplus of productivity that AI is generating? And here is a fantastic example of what we could do with that surplus. Right now, the average student-to-teacher ratio in schools is about 1 to 30. But educational experts know the ideal ratio for a child's development is actually 1 to 6. Currently, society claims we just don't have the funds to hire 5 times as many teachers. But what if we did? If we automate heavy, time-consuming tasks like legal research or lower-level admin work across the economy, we free up an enormous amount of capital. We could theoretically shift that newfound wealth to hire more teachers, bringing that ratio down to the ideal 1 to 6. It's all about where we choose to redistribute this new technological wealth.
So how do we actually get there? Part 4. The power of optimism. If you're wondering what skills you or your kids should be focusing on while all these technical skills are being automated, the source outlines 3 deeply human traits that will completely outlast any AI. Number 1 is grit, the ability to push through adversity and actually finish what you start. Number 2 is curiosity. In a world that changes exponentially, whatever you learn in your freshman year of college will probably be obsolete by graduation. You absolutely must embrace lifelong learning. And number 3 is empathy, the ability to deal with other people, empower them, and make them feel valued. A machine can write code all day long, but it cannot authentically empower a team of human beings.
The source material also takes a really strong stance on negativity, emphasizing that complaining is practically a form of self-sabotage. There's this great little anecdote shared about a carp living in muddy water. The fish eventually ends up tasting exactly like the muddy water around it. Well, humans are exactly the same. If you surround yourself with complaints and pessimism, you absorb that flavor. By complaining, you are literally digging your own grave and destroying your own ability to adapt, innovate, and actually contribute to a better future.
To combat this, Sebastian Thrun introduced a quirky, highly actionable little framework he calls No Fear Tuesday. Because let's face it, when you're scared, you universally make bad decisions. So the idea is to pick just one day a week, let's call it Tuesday, to consciously switch off your anxiety about the future. On this day, you are simply not allowed to worry about your job or the economy. Instead, you just experiment. Go play with a new AI model, take a ride in a self-driving car, or try to build a little app yourself. Turn your fear into curiosity and just play.
And that really brings us to our final thought. The singularity isn't just something that is happening to us, it's something we are all actively participating in. If you allow yourself to embrace this exponential curve, lean into your curiosity, and practice even just a little bit of optimism, the possibilities are genuinely endless. So I'll leave you with this. What will you build on your next No Fear Tuesday? Thank you so much for checking out this explainer, and remember to stay curious,